Well, good morning, Bimblers. You join me here at the banks of the River Dee in something called Baghill Dock. And it's a wonderful place to visit because it's full of all these nice old boats with this beautiful rusty patina. But that's not the most interesting thing that's here at Baghill Dock. It's home to the end of the UK's longest tunnel. The tunnel is a drain for a lead mine, about 10 miles in that direction, in a place called Cadole. And it drains water from the bottom of the lead mine in a network of mines that's around 60 miles long. And though it's 10 miles away, the nearest bit of water that they could drain it into is here on the banks of the River Dee. And I know what you're thinking. What about the Channel Tunnel, Kieran? That's at least 12 miles long. Well, half of that's in France. Have a think about it. And some of it's in international waters. So this is the longest tunnel in the UK. You can't walk down it, you'd have to sort of crawl and you'd probably drown. But this is the UK's longest tunnel. The building of the tunnel actually stopped the flow of water in something very holy that we'll be visiting today. But with a few other things to see first. So let's bimble.
Itself. To me you were a warming hand that melts to the bone. The flowers grown from my heart. To you I was a drifting line, drawn between a light to capture, but only shown in pictures sewn from my arms. Clouds kept the light from those eyes. Still, love grown consumed. And you know, I'll never let it go. You'll find in time, I'll never let it go. You'll find it's right. I'll only ever know how to speak my mind. I'll only ever know how to speak my mind. Mistake. To me it was a golden handshake to reapply those lazy arms in my heart. To you it was a dream it mended. To you it was a dream.
This is Greenfield Doc. And this has been here since the 1700s. And its chief export was paper for a long time, and that's all thanks to this stream running down from on top of the hill, which meant that their paperworks could have enough water to mulch up all that wood and make paper. But it has a dark past as well, as most things anywhere near to Liverpool have. If you think about the River Dee, it's only one river over from the River Mersey, and prior to the building of the docks in Liverpool there was a lot of shipping going on the River Dee. We visited one port in a previous Bimble. That was at Park Gate on the Wirral, and that's only over the river there. So boats would have been coming up and down the River Dee, going into Chester, going to Park Gate, and stopping here at Greenfield. And the two other factories that were here at Greenfield were a cotton mill and a copper works. And if you've watched many of my videos, you'll know that cotton mills and copper works mean slaves. The copper works would have got copper from Anglesey, just like the copper works in Warrington. And they would have turned that into the black manillas, the bracelets, highly prized in West Africa. And they would have been sold to the merchants of Liverpool, who then would have bought slaves with them, took the slaves over to America, exchanged them for cotton, and brought the cotton back here to Greenfield, where it was woven into cloth and sent back out again. There's always a fly in the ointment.
To me it was a long mistake. To me it was a golden handshake to reapply those lazy arms in my heart. To you it was a dream it mended. To you it was a dream suspended. To relocate right from the break to the start. Over time.
This is Basingwork Abbey, and it was built in the 12th century and remodelled in the 13th century and then drastically remodelled so it appears like it does today in around 1536, and that was done by Henry VIII when he fell out with the Catholic Church. Apparently it used to be filled with Cistercian monks, and they're monks that follow the rules of Saint Benedict, and they're an offshoot of Benedictine monks, and apparently they were or are all about community and bringing people together, and by coincidence they always seem to be brewers or people who tend to vineyards. Draw a conclusion from that if you will. They apparently wore white robes, not your stereotypical brown robes, how you imagine Friar Tuck. Basingwork Abbey is the start of something called the North Wales Pilgrim Way, which is a piddly old 135-mile walk, starting here at Greenfield, going in that direction, all the way to Bardsey Island, or the Island of 20,000 Saints, which is over near Abersock. And along that Pilgrim's Way is our next port of call, a place that was built by Henry VIII's grandma before he knackered all this. Let's bimble.
No, I'll never let it go. You'll find in time, I'll never let it go. You'll find it's right. I'll only ever know how to speak my mind. I'll only ever know how to speak my mind.
This is St Winifred's Well, and it's the UK's oldest continually visited pilgrimage. The water that came up from the well was believed to have healing powers, but the flow of water stopped after they built that tunnel we visited earlier. That tunnel apparently broke into a flooded cavern that used to fill this spring. Now the water flows elsewhere, so the healing powers of the well are lost. And that's probably why during COVID, when I came here just after the first lockdown, you weren't allowed to touch the water in case you caught coronavirus, because there's no healing water left in there. That must be the case. The chapel that surrounds it and the pool that fills up with the water was built in the 15th century by Lady Margaret Beaufort. She was a descendant of King Edward III, the mother of Henry Tudor, or Henry VII, and the grandmother of Henry VIII. And she decided they needed a chapel here so people could bathe in the waters. She died on the 29th of June, 1509. That was the day after Henry VIII turned 18, 5 days after he became the King of England, and 2 months after Henry Tudor or Henry VII died. And she's actually buried at Westminster Abbey. But who is Saint Winifred? Well, Saint Winifred is probably the earliest documented example of toxic masculinity. A local prince named Caradoc got the hots for her, but she spurned him, and he had her beheaded. I mean, we've all felt that way. You fancy someone, you ask them out, they say no. You think, well, maybe I should have them beheaded. But you don't actually go and do it, do you? But not Prince Caradoc, he went and actually did it. And apparently the spring is the exact location where she was beheaded. And that must be the reason why it has such healing powers. Or maybe not, I don't know.